Merry Christmas, grunts. Hope everybody's having a safe and enjoyable holiday season. As you can tell, I'm doing this video from my vehicle. I'm heading up north to my mom and her husband's place for Christmas. There, I'm going to spend the afternoon up there, have dinner, visit, hang out. Just kind of have a relaxing holiday. It's kind of my plan. But today I want to talk about the socioeconomics involved in dating. And I know you grunts are like, geez, Unc, why is that so important? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's super important, but I would say it's somewhat important. As most of you, or maybe none of you, are aware that things just aren't the way they used to be when it comes to dating. I can say that from experience. I always tell people dating isn't the same than it was in the 90s. Uncle Brian, I wasn't up and becoming until the 90s. I was born in the 70s, raised through the 80s, and started my life in the 90s. And dating was a lot easier than it is now. You gotta look at what's happened in the last 25, 30 years. We had the internet come about, in the mid-late 2000s. We had like MySpace and different like social media apps, the early days of social media, and then now we blossom into Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then you add on top of that all the dating apps out there. We've essentially became a global sexual marketplace. It's no different than the global economy. Businesses are doing business and or conducting business overseas with different trade partners or relationships and what have you. And that's the same way with dating. And so when we look at social economics, we're not only looking at your social status, but your economic status as well. And that's between men and women. And now it's much more complicated than it was 50, 60 years ago, and even well beyond that. Because, when you're talking, I'm talking my grandparents' generation, it wasn't uncommon that a man would get married right out of high school. And back then, you didn't have to have a bachelor's degree, required master's preferred to get an entry-level job like you do now. So it was easy for that man to get married, land a job, start acquiring resources, and providing for a family. Wife stayed home, raised kids. He went to work, brought home the bacon. She cooked it. It wasn't a very complicated way of living whatsoever. And then when you fast forward to current times, and we have all these things working against, especially working against men. You got not only have the internet, social media, dating apps, and then you also have the generous welfare state that's been voted in for the last 30, 40 years. Men are literally in competition with the government and women. And when I mean women are now entering college and the workforce in record numbers. They're outpacing men in college degrees, and they're quickly catching up to outpace the men when it comes to entering the workforce. And so when you look at what's happening today in women's dating, their mating strategies, women typically will date across and up, but they would prefer to date up. They don't want to date down. Okay? This is where men have a very difficult time, and this is where me and other content creators come in to kind of give you guys a leg up and kind of help you excel in those areas a little bit. And so when we talk about socioeconomics, we're talking the value you bring. And you don't have to be a super high value man by any way, shape, or form. I tell guys nowadays, if you're making a good upper 5-figure income, you go to work every day, you're in shape, you have your own place, your own mode of transportation, you've got a leg up over probably 70-80% of the guys out there. If you and what I'll call the bare minimum, it's not a gold standard by by any stretch of the means, but if you actually have a job, a decent, and I'm saying decent paying, say you're making $75,000 a year, you got your own home, you're not swimming in debt, you don't have student loan debt, you got your own car, you're way ahead of probably 75% of the guys out there right now. And so when we look at the what women's dating standards are, and guys, trust me, this has never changed. This has always been that way. It's just that with feminism and it becoming so toxic, it's conditioning women to have them believe that they don't need a man, they can do it on their own. Because with the start of the no-fault divorce, starting with the baby boomers, and then my generation, Gen X, is no-fault divorce and left and right, with the good 50 to 60% failure rate in marriages this day and age, yeah, women are opting to enter the workforce, or opting to go to college, get their degrees, go out there, make their own money, get their own home, get their own vehicle. Women are essentially operating as defective men. And so, but through their conditioning and toxic feminism, they now have the attitude that men aren't needed. And then when you combine that with a generous welfare state that caters to women, so like divorce and family court caters to women, that's where you get alimony and child support for women, and then EBT and WIC and stuff for the single moms. Guys just aren't needed for the provisioning aspect of things. Women can do that on their own. And so when women are out there vetting for men, they're looking for men that are above them in social economic status. So if you're a woman making $50,000 a year, for example, you want a man that makes $100,000. And not only does she want that, it's almost a requirement. Because if she can hook this guy, convince him to marry her, well, then she gets guaranteed cash and prizes and income when she finally divorces a guy. So when we talk about how this affects guys, when you look at the average man nowadays, the guys don't have much ambition to do a whole lot of anything. They don't want to work hard. They just don't give a shit. They're just stepping out of the workforce. And American leaders are sitting there like, well, what's going on? What's happening? Why is this happening? Well, if a man doesn't have a purpose, he's not gonna want to excel at anything. If he's being told women don't want him, well, he's not gonna, I'll just work, make the bare minimum just to survive. And it's easy. You guys are stepping out, but for the guys that want to stay in and are sitting there shaking their head like, well, how come I can't get the girls? How come I can't enter a long-term relationship? Why can't I start a family? Why can't I? Well, women have a different agenda. And so, and one thing women are having problems with, and they'll deny this to this day, they're now starting to price themselves out of the sexual marketplace. So when you look at a woman making $50,000 a year, $50,000 a year, for example, she's not going to date a guy that makes $30,000. She wants to get that guy that makes $100,000, $150,000. And the higher she goes up on the socioeconomic ladder, so now she makes $100,000. Now she wants a guy that makes $150,000 to $200,000. Okay, she starts getting into the C-suite level positions in corporate America. Now she's making a couple $100,000 a year. She's realizing, and I don't think they really realize it, but when you look at female behavior when it comes to mate selection, like I said, they typically want to date guys across and up. They don't, like I said, they don't date down. So the more money they make, the more status they get, the more they acquire, they are slowly pricing themselves out of the sexual marketplace. And so when a woman breaks the glass ceiling, she kind of realizes, well, shit, there aren't very many guys up here available to me. And the guys that would be available to her, they're either married or they're taken, or they just have a harem of women. Well, I just had the camera fall off the windshield, so just take it back up here. Okay, where was I? So when a woman starts getting into the C-suite level, she's pretty much priced out of the sexual marketplace. I mean, her choice of men are she has fewer and fewer options. Okay, she doesn't have. So if she was a hairdresser, for example, making 30 grand a year, 40 grand a year, she'd have more options than men. But nowadays, women are encouraged to excel, bust through the glass ceiling. You know, that was a big thing during the Hillary Clinton days. You know, all promoting women. You know, crush that. You know, break through the glass ceiling. You know, women are oppressed. They're so-called the patriarchy has been holding them back, and so now these women are encouraged to break the glass ceiling. And then when they realize, well, shit, I don't have very many options up here at this level, because like I said, the top 1% of guys or the top 10% are already taken. And I mean, and they're taken all around. They're either married or in LTRs, or they just have a harem of women where they're just maybe spinning 4 or 5 plates, and then when one woman drops off, then he can replace her with another. And that's what I'm talking about. These higher level guys are, if they are single, it's usually by choice. It's not that women didn't want them. It's just, hey, you know, I had my fun, I'm going to take a break, so I'm going to be single for however long I want to be. Go do my own thing. Those guys have that choice to be single. Whereas the bottom, I don't know, I'm not being very generous with this number, the bottom 75-80% of guys really don't have a choice, because they're the ones that are, in current times, are struggling. Okay? And then when you look at the other side of the coin with men, the more money a man makes, the more options he has. So if a guy makes $50,000, the guy that makes 100 grand has a lot more options. Okay, the girls are seeking the higher value men. And like I said, that's usually the top 20%. And I'm like I said, guys, I'm being generous with that number. It's usually about the top 15, 20%. And I try to keep the expectations in line with reality for the most part. But I will also say that if you're a guy that puts in the effort in life, you know, there is that occasion where a guy does work hard. Yeah, he may not make a lot of money, but he works hard. He's at it every day. He may be going to the gym. I see a lot of guys at the gym that they look broke, and they might not be broke. And maybe these guys are a lot smarter than me. I mean, but I don't dress for success all the time. I mean, I go to the gym, I do my thing, but there are guys that look like they're busted broke, but they're at the gym every day working on their body. And these guys may or may not make much money, but they're putting in the effort. And so I think if guys are putting in the effort, they do have a shot. They may not have a good a shot as the guy in the top 20%, but they have a shot. And if they work hard, they'll eventually get within that top 20%. Some guys, it takes them a little longer to get there. Other guys, they figure it out quick and they excel. But other guys, it takes them a little time to figure it out. It's, for a lot of guys, a trial and error period can go for a long time. So, and that's why I try to encourage guys to get into the trades. If you want to start making money quickly and start earning a living faster, and you're not in the hole when you start work, you go into the trades or you go to the military. Yeah, you don't join the military to make money. The military is a free trade school. You go there, you learn a skill. Now, you could go to college too, get a degree while you're building a skill, which I think is an awesome opportunity. I mean, you spend 8-12 years in the military, and you got at least a bachelor's degree, and you have a skill that you could apply into the 1st Civ Division. And so that's, you know, when I encourage guys to do the work, that's what I'm talking about. And you don't have to do exactly that. You can go to college if you want, but major something in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and get a high-paying job. A job that will allow you to pay off, if you took student loan debt, that will allow you to pay that debt off quick, not carry it for the next 20-30 years. You pay it off quick. That's why I always tell guys, your building years are from 18 to 30. So by the time you're 30, you should be well established in a career, whether it be computer programming, accounting, or electrician. But you have no student loan debt by the time you're 30. You go to school, you land that good job, career, and you pay that debt off quick. That way, by the time you're 30, you can entertain the opportunity, if one should arise, to get married, start a family, okay? And so, yeah, that's kind of social economics in a nutshell, guys. It's out there. Really, we're competing. Guys are competing with women out there in the workforce. So, if you're not on top of your game, there's a good chance you're gonna live a single life. And if you're a man that's on his game, good job for you. You learned something. You're learning. And for the women, and really it's a woman's choice to go to school and go to work, because when you look at the other side of that socioeconomic coin, women are born with value, men have to create value. So a woman, as long as she's not morbidly obese, a fat, disgusting pig, she can get any guy she wants. And she doesn't have to work. She can stay home, raise a family, be a homemaker. But oh no, we can't do that. That's a shameful line of work. That's a shameful position to be in today's America. Oh God, you can't be a stay-at-home wife. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to be under the thumb of a man? You know? And so I think this is why we have one of the problems of where we're at now, is because we got men and women competing against each other for survival, and it's really spreading the sexes apart instead of bringing us closer together, because men and women are far better together than they are apart. And so, is there a solution? I mean, we're 50, 60 years deep into this stuff. Is there really a solution or a way to get out of it? I mean, it might take another 30, 40 years if something changes now. It might take 30 years to undo all the feminist propaganda, all this toxic masculinity propaganda, all this other bullshit that tears us apart more than brings us together. So that's all I got today, guys. Like I said, have a safe, enjoyable Christmas, and we'll see you on the next one.